Here in Gardens of the Bay. And we are planning to have a boat straight from this place. Here is the huge bridge. That doesn't work today. Second tallest observation wheel on the world after Las Vegas one, about 165 meter high.
You may be curious about the type of vessel we're cruising in. Traditionally called bumboats or lighters, these barges were used to transport cargo from ships anchored offshore near the mouth of our Singapore River to the warehouses along the river as early as 150 years ago. In 17th century Europe, they were first used as scavenger or dirt boats to carry rubbish. But some scholars have also agreed that the word bumboat means exactly as it sounds, a ship's bottom or a smaller boat pandering to larger ships. In Singapore, though, bumboats are also called tongkangs from the Malay name given to the timber used to build them and used for transport between islands. Bumboats are also referred to by the Chinese as duakos. These boats proudly originated in Singapore with hulls developed by the local Chinese. Hokkien duakos are the most colorful, with both heads painted bright red, green and white, while Teochew duakos were painted a solid red. Now, if you're thinking that the bumboats look like they have eyes painted on them, you're not wrong. According to Chinese legend, these boats were designed by a crafty Chinese emperor who was not in favor of foreigners interfering with his expeditions to see and guide passengers on board safely to their destination. So whether you believe in legend or superstition, we can all agree that these colorful, distinctive boats are certainly eye-catching. Did you know that bumboats all but disappeared from the Singapore River during a massive cleanup of our waterways in the early 80s? However, they made a triumphant return to the Singapore River and were given a new lease of life as pleasure craft by Singapore River Cruises. From a humble fleet of just 4 bumboats, that number has grown steadily to preserve our river's charming heritage. In 2006, Singapore River Cruises championed the environmentally friendly cause of creating the world's first electric bumboat. In fact, this very Yunona is part of our electric bumboat fleet. As we soon be saying goodbye to what remains of a bygone era of life along the Singapore River, perhaps you'd like to hear a little more about the rich past. From the southern part of the island, these river waters truly thrum with the lifeblood of Singapore. You've heard a few stories of the early days, how the Singapore River transformed from a sparsely populated swamp to an important port for merchants and traders who docked their boats and built their businesses along the riverbanks. The Singapore River flourished into a busy, overcrowded port and became home to an ever-growing community whose livelihoods depended on it. The Singapore River was where our first immigrants toiled hard to start their new lives. Let's take a break from all the talk to enjoy a little traditional music, shall we? This Malay folk song is called Di Tanjung Katong, a charming ode to an area in the east coast of Singapore near the Penang River. Victoria Memorial Hall, which features the clock tower, are both historical monuments dedicated to the performance arts. Right next to them is the Empress Place building, which was constructed in 1907 entirely by convict labor. Previously known as the government offices, the Empress Place building is now also a national monument and home to the Asian Civilizations Museum. The Asian Civilizations Museum is a treasure trove of history and culture that will introduce you to the world of Asian traditions. The museum features over 1,600 treasured artifacts in 4 themed geographical zones and includes a Singapore River gallery dedicated to the history and people of our beloved river. Be sure to check it out for an even more intimate picture of the things you've seen and learned on this river cruise.
Надо в этот музей сходить, ну.
Up ahead and to the right, over on the museum steps, an enchanting series of sculptures tells the story of the Singapore River's development. Meet our nation's pioneers, coolies, merchants, traders and financiers, all immortalized in beautifully cast bronze. There are many other surprising sculptures that dot the Singapore River promenade, and if you decide to take an exploratory walk, we promise you won't be disappointed. Over on the right bank, you may have noticed a fine fellow cast in blinding white plaster. Englishman Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles, the founder of modern Singapore. The statue marks the spot where Sir Raffles is thought to have first landed in Singapore in 1819. Back then, Singapore was only a sleepy little fishing village, but Raffles saw enormous potential due to her location along the main shipping route between India and China. After signing an agreement with Singapore's then ruler, Sultan Hussein of Johor, Raffles set about establishing a trading post and free port on the island for England's East India Company. He developed a town plan, drawing up residential, administrative and commercial districts along the riverbanks of this budding island city. The large building we're passing on the right was Singapore's first courthouse, after which it became Parliament House up till 1999, when the new Parliament House was developed just next to it. What is that strange disc hovering over Parliament House? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it a UFO? Don't worry, what looked like something out of a sci-fi movie is actually part of the Supreme Court of Singapore. Now this is Elgin Bridge, named after the then Governor General of India, Lord Elgin. Fittingly, the bridge served as a link between the Indian merchants on the north side of the river and the Chinese community on the south side in the days of our colonial past. We're now approaching Coleman Bridge, named after its Irish architect, George Drumgold Coleman, for his invaluable contributions to Singapore's development. Appointed the first superintendent of public works in Singapore, Coleman brought with him in the 50s admission to watch an entire performance was just 50 cents. But the common practice was to only pay 5 or 10 cents just to catch the last 10 minutes, which was the most exciting part of the show. Some might say this events, the opera performances would be staged outdoors for all to enjoy free of charge.
Nakunia is here.
The area to your right used to be the site of Riverside Village, a plague-infested squatters' colony which housed the seedy underbelly of opium dens, brothels, and secret societies. Addicts, ladies of the night, and gangsters jostled for space in this once dangerous, mysterious place. But today, the building Riverside Point sits on the historical foundations of that notorious village. No longer dangerous and seedy, but a delightful waterfront dining oasis that boasts its very own microbrewery. Perhaps you'd like to return by foot to explore all these fun possibilities. Did you know that the paths along the Singapore River make up one continuous looping promenade that connects kilometer promenade that flanks both sides of the river? As you take in the sights and sounds, you'll be comfortably shaded by lush greenery and definitely tempted by the many shops and cafes along the way. Look across the river and up to your left. See the lush green hill and the large tower overlooking Clarke Quay and the river? That is Fort Canning Hill, where Raffles built his own bungalow, Singapore's first government house. He also planted a spice garden, Singapore's first experimental botanic garden, to cultivate commercially imported spices. The hill was later used by the British as an arms store, barracks, and hospital, which probably led to its final name, Fort Canning. But way before the British arrived on our shores, Fort Canning was the place where ancient Malayan royalty once lived and were laid to rest. It was considered so sacred that it was known as Forbidden Hill. Forbidden because commoners were not allowed to visit. Of course, all that has changed, and now you're most welcome to visit Fort Canning to see the old British underground bunkers, and if you're really brave-hearted, explore the ancient gravestones that still remain on its shady slopes. Now here's a building that just begs for attention. See the one adorned with colorful windows on your left? Home to the Ministry of Information, Communications and the Arts, its multi-hued facade not only reflects Singapore's multicultural heritage, but also hints at the building's equally colorful past. Can you believe that this rainbow-splashed complex used to be the old Hill Street Police Station and was once considered a skyscraper? But that was before World War II. In fact, the old Hill Street Police Station served as Singapore's earliest secure jail. And during World War II, it's even believed to have been a torture chamber. With such a vivid history, it's certainly no wonder the building was named a National Monument in 1998.
Jumbo seafood.
Completed in 1842 and is Singapore's very first quay. At its peak in the 1860s, Boat Quay handled 3/4 of Singapore's total shipping business. The sheltered riverbanks made excellent loading and unloading places. Back then, the whole river was chock-a-block with thousands of boats transporting a whole myriad of goods to be traded by the merchants who had set up shop in that row of buildings on the bank. Some of those goods included seafood, spices, and rubber. The precious cargo was shouldered across gangplanks by immigrant laborers known as coolies, whose blood, sweat, and tears formed the very backbone of our nation's rise to prosperity. Wonder why all the shophouses are concentrated on just one embankment of Boat Quay? Well, legend has it that the Chinese immigrants chose to set up home only on the south bank of the river. You'll notice how the riverbank curves just like the belly of a calf. In Chinese culture, this majestic fish is an auspicious symbol of good fortune and a great place to store wealth. These first immigrants believed that this part of the Singapore River was where prosperity and wealth could be found. That's also why many banks and businesses started up here and eventually developed this area into our current central business district. Where once boats lined the water's edge, today the banks of Boat Quay are lined with shophouses turned into restaurants and pubs. The facades of the Boat Quay shophouses have been retained, and their unique architectural styles give the district a distinct flavor. Notice how the shophouses are of varying heights? Long ago, this signaled the owner's wealth. In other words, the higher the building, the wealthier the owner. Perhaps these traditional beliefs have extended till today. Just take a look at the tall skyscrapers of Singapore's financial district towering over the Boat Quay shophouses. This is the perfect place for snapping pictures, so enjoy the 360-degree views and drink in Boat Quay's unique blend of traditional Asian values set against a modern and progressive backdrop. See how the shophouses form a charming contrast of Singapore's developing years against the skyline of a new Singapore. This truly is a uniquely Singapore sight. By the way, are you feeling hungry? Hawkers and their push carts used to line the riverbanks, selling local dishes that were cheap and delicious. A bowl of teochew porridge cost only 10 cents. Better yet, side dishes were free of charge. Every day, the people who worked and lived at the river would eat at these push carts, sitting on little stools along the river banks. Perhaps that was how al fresco dining got its start in Singapore. Havre, Singapore's last governor, it's Singapore's only suspension bridge to have retained its intricate original form. It was manufactured in Scotland, then shipped to Singapore later to be assembled. Unfortunately, the bridge was built too low, and boats had to wait for low tide before they could pass. So look out and don't forget to duck as we cruise under the bridge. Just kidding. Coming up on the other side of Havre Bridge, you'll see a group of little boys jumping into the river. Don't worry about jumping in to save them. They're actually incredibly lifelike bronze sculptures showing a scene from the river's past, where children would stand and wave cheekily from their houses. Very often they would take off all their clothes and jump in for a cool afternoon swim. Standing tall and majestic is the exclusive Fulton Hotel, which blends the elegance of old-world charm with every modern convenience. Built in 1928, lots of paper pushing went on behind the hotel's splendid columns before its glamorous makeover. Its facade is a masterpiece of neoclassical grandeur, which belies its much stuffier original occupants, the Chamber of Commerce offices and the General Post Office, from which mail was transported along the Singapore River to and from ships. Since the 1950s, this was also the site of many political campaign rallies, but even longer before that, it was occupied by Fort Fullerton, built to defend the town at the mouth of the Singapore River. This promontory to your right used to be home to the merlion, Singapore's half-lion, half-fish icon. The merlion stood guard here at the river mouth for 30 years before it was hauled by barge to its new home in the bay in 2002. As we make our way out into Marina Bay, you'll be able to see the merlion for yourself and hear all about its story.
It's called Moon Gate. I don't understand what exactly it means. Okay, we're going towards, so what is this? Yunona. Okay, stay here. Closer, come back. Yeah. Okay, stand here. Can stand here немножко.
Damit ich jetzt nützlich bin. Sei ich ungefähr richtig? Ja, wunderbar. Das ist ein gutes Urlaub. Ja, das stimmt. Eine Garde auf Uhlbach.
Is it real or some kind of plastic? No. I don't want to be arrested over that.
You don't want to risk it? I mean, it looks real.
Eagles flying, wonders flying. Well, where we met? Remember him? But we see condors. Where? In what country we see condors in? Yeah. In Coca Canyon, remember? Chile. Chilean white palm. The same tree is growing in Louvre Park. In Crimea, in Louvre. Yeah. Monkey puzzle tree. Araucaria. One of the most favorite places in the Louvre Park was near this tree. What? Are we going down? don't know. Yeah.
Want me to take a picture of you?
Уже темно. somewhere is Indonesia, but it's hard to see it.
Hindi kita yung sa inyo.
Botanical po. Ang costa. Anong babagsak?
Babe.
Here is the hotel.
我看见一个人伸着手，我们是不是要进去这个位置？
没有再说那情况。一会儿人家赶下去，
我看那个人，
我们给赶下去。
你呢？
本来我在喜欢东西。哎，你也不找人干了。
Big ship.
丢了。来了，
小姐，你看这边不是海，你看小姐，但终于也没多少钱。
Containers.
之前那个钱，后来不是那个。
Look, how many containers there?
红车，红车，红车，红车，
但是那都是咱们就是来回转嘛，
抢红色。
It's like storage.
No, goods in containers. TV sets or whatever. Refrigerators, anything.
100个，
Carried in containers. Carried containers. Stand.
快到站了。
到咱们看，这一进来这块儿好好看。
Oh, yeah, some toast.
他说那个，还不是吗？乱七八糟的，是不是一个老房子呀？不是，那是吃的。那是个老房子，我看有金山头发。
这一站长，那水是浪边儿
有金山洞啊！金山洞有黑吧？那可以吧？
Next stop, Waterfront Station. Visit Resorts World Sentosa, Singapore's only integrated family resort.